Good morning, Cleveland County. We are actually in Rutherford County, just the very edge up here on Hinton Creek Road. I'm here this morning with D. Campbell and his son Chase, who, by the way, is a medical doctor who's getting ready to go into surgery in about 3 or 4 hours. We're on their Buffalo Ranch. And Dee, I'd like to ask you a question about how you all got started in raising buffalo.
Well, for my part of it, we got started when Chase contacted us, and he got excited about it through a colleague of his. So that would be a better question to let him take now.
All right, well, Chase, there you go.
Sure. It was kind of one of those wild idea moments. It's actually during an operation, and had a colleague who was looking at buying a buffalo herd, and that sort of started the wheels turning, and we investigated it. This land's been in the family for pushing 100 years now, maybe longer, but we know of it for that long. And it needed to kind of be revitalized. It wasn't really in use, and we were looking at some opportunities to make the farm back to being productive, and that started the ball rolling, and hasn't stopped.
Well, I'm sure people are going to want to know how they can buy your meat. I believe we saw you at the farmer's market, am I correct?
We've done that a couple of times, yes.
So now just a couple of times, or will you be there like every Saturday? And
well, we're limited on when we can process meat from this farm, because the animals have to grow to a certain size, and so we're limited there. But we've got a connection with a meat source, another partner farmer in North Carolina.
Yeah, we have meat available full-time. Certain select cuts are available on our website, which is bigspringsbison.com. And then periodically we have meat available at farmers markets locally in Shelby and Charlotte area.
Well, we know that most people eat beef, but we want to know why we should be eating buffalo meat. Chase?
Sure. The main advantage to buffalo meat, bison, same animal, is the nutritional benefits relative to beef. There's a very, very similar taste. It's not as wild and gamey as people worry that it's going to be. In fact, well-prepared bison compared to well-prepared beef is going to be very similar. Some people think bison has just a slightly sweeter character. It is a much leaner meat. That gives it most of its advantage. Per pound, bison is lower in cholesterol, calories, fat content, and equivalent or slightly higher in protein. It's got very good omega-3 ratio compared to regular standard beef. So it's a very, very nutritious product across the board.
Yeah, on meats, if you had a chart that had bison and beef and pork and chicken, when you got down to the most healthy, down to salmon, bison is much more equivalent to the protein and the fat content and all that of salmon than it is any of the other meats, especially the red meats.
Yes, well, that's wonderful. Well, I want to thank you all for your hospitality, and we're going to be taking pictures of the buffalo, and hopefully we'll be able to get that into our segment. So, Cleveland County, stay tuned. We're going to be in the studio with Nancy Abasiekong, talking about more of the nutritional value of bison.
Rehearsing and nursing a part. We know every card by heart. Overture, curtain lights. This is it. We'll hit the heights. And oh, what heights we'll hit. On with the show. This is it.
This new dad is picturing a tree house in the sky. But he's ignoring the instructions.
Good luck, big guy.
His kids know that he's building without a clue. Never been so good with nails and glue. Now we're trapped inside a box. I hope Mom knows what to do.
Oh!
See, you don't have to be perfect, to be the perfect parent.
Thousands of siblings in foster care will take you just as you are.
Welcome back, Cleveland County. We're in the studio with Nancy Abasier-Kong. As you remember, she is the Cooperative Extension Agent for Family and Consumer Sciences. And we're here this afternoon to talk about buffalo, bison, which is really the correct term for what you just saw out in the field. And I must say, Nancy, the bison that we saw are the most exciting of any produce we've had. But their meat is amazing. And I want Cleveland County to know how amazing it is.
Bison really is a very healthy choice, and you can use it just as you would other cuts of beef. If a recipe calls for beef, then you can substitute bison for that. And of course, really, often we can make recipes with chicken, pork, so other cuts as well. But bison is a more lean cut of meat. It has less fat, does not have the marbling that we would find with beef and with some of the other meats. One other thing to remember with bison, in general with cooking, keep in mind cooking it at a lower temperature and cooking it more slowly.
Oh, good.
Again, because we don't have the fat
Of course.
in that,
Certainly.
in the meat. So instead of a roast of beef, perhaps you would cook at 325 or 350. With bison, 275
Perfect.
will be our oven temperature setting for that
Perfect.
slow cooking.
Perfect, perfect.
And our internal temperature, this will be where you'll want to use your meat thermometer. Check the internal temperature, because bison, the color is naturally a little darker
Yes,
red,
it is.
than your beef will be.
Right.
So again, even with beef, we don't recommend that you use color as the indicator for doneness.
Well, if we happen to find some pieces of bison and either don't have time to cook it or it's a good deal at the store, I'm sure we can freeze this meat.
Yes, you can. And again, use your beef as your indicator for the way that you would freeze. And of course, we know that we don't rinse our meats and so forth, so you take them out of the package, and then you're ready to just put them in your freezer weight foil or freezer weight plastic wrap and so forth. Get a good tight seal. You might double bag that. If you've wrapped your meat, then put it in another Ziploc freezer weight bag. Label it clearly with the date and the type of cut of meat that you have, and so forth, and then that's ready to freeze. If your freezer then is at 0, which is what we recommend for freezer temperatures, then it should stay. Most meats will stay up to a year, up to 12 months.
Well, Nancy, thank you so much for your expertise and your knowledge. And Cleveland County, we do have, even in our stores, you can buy bison. And with Dee, we'll be at the farmer's market, so there's no excuse that you should not try some bison. It is delicious.
And check for the fact sheet on our website.
Ah, very, very good. Thank you, Nancy. Well, stay tuned. We're going to be in the kitchen with Jason Walker, who is the cook at our new brewery, Newgrass, and he is going to be creating a wonderful dish with bison.
Hi, I'm Linda Hopper, and I'm excited about Woman to Woman right here on C19 TV. Each month, my guest and I would chat about issues relating to women in general, but with a special focus on women right here in Cleveland County. Our topics will range from serious issues such as domestic violence and workplace challenges to fun topics such as fashion and healthy lifestyles and much, much more. So please join me as we discuss the issues, interests, and inspiration of women everywhere on Woman to Woman.
Well, I dropped out of high school because I was pregnant and I thought I knew everything. And now I realized I didn't. I wasn't comfortable mainly with me. And I decided to come back. I like the teachers. They're really nice. Well, I'm trying to get all my credits, and it will probably take me 9 months to a year So, but I'll get it.
The Learning Center, located on the campus of Cleveland Community College. Enroll now.
Welcome back, Cleveland County. You've seen buffalo on the hoof. We've talked about how good buffalo is, and now we're seeing buffalo in the kitchen and how it's going to be used. Our chef today is Jason Walker. He's worked several places, but he is currently working at Newgrass Brewery. He's the chef at the brewery.
Correct.
And today, I believe, we're going to be making a shepherd's pie.
Correct.
Is that right?
That's correct.
Good. Well, let's get started, Jason.
Absolutely. A couple of things. Whenever you're going to sear meat, you want a hot pan. So many people are afraid to have the pan hot, afraid they're going to burn or overcook something. But when you're searing meat, to get that caramelization on the meat is very important and really gets the flavor out of the meat. So we're using, this is a chuck roast that I've diced up. It's from Big Springs Bison, local Cleveland County bison. So a little bit of oil. This is canola, and it is non-GMO canola. One way to tell if your pan's hot enough is that the oil shimmers. You pour it in there, you want it to be hot, so it rolls around the pan nicely.
I can also see it smoking a little bit.
Exactly, just a little bit of smoke is fine. Too much smoke is not. Now, one thing when you're searing meat is you do not want to crowd the pan, because then you end up poaching the meat. You want to get a nice sear on it so you don't put it all in at once. And if there's any liquid in the bottom of the pan, you don't want to pour that in there either.
Oh, that's good.
So, we'll do it in two stages.
Okay.
Once the meat's in, a little salt and pepper. For my pepper, I use a peppercorn melange. It's a mix of pink, white, black, and green peppercorns. And you just grind them to however fine a grind you want. And then I mix with a very coarse kosher salt.
Okay.
For the ease of it, I just have it mixed already.
Correct.
I do it at home, or it works the same way. So I move the bison around a little bit just to be sure that it's not sticking, and then I just let it be.
Okay.
You want to get that color at least on one side of each piece.
Okay.
If you have some doubled up, move them. Let them be in the pan.
So it's smelling good. It's looking good.
It is, isn't it? All right, so for the shepherd's pie today, I am using my coveted Mama's casserole dish. USA made and oven proof.
Wow.
That caramelization on that meat is what makes that meat taste so good.
Oh, okay.
Just like a steak. I mean, if you boil a steak in water, imagine how that would be. But if you grill it and get those marks on the outside of it, that's what makes that steak taste so great. And it's the same thing with a braise or a stew like we're doing here.
Well, we're learning lots here today, Jason.
All right, so a little sear on the bison. Return the pan to the burner. And here we have mirepoix. That's French. It's the foundation of any soup or stock. It is 1 part carrot, 1 part celery, 2 parts onion. I also have garlic in here and rosemary and thyme.
Okay.
There's 2 cloves of garlic and about a sprig of rosemary and about 2 sprigs of thyme, just kind of coarsely chopped. You don't want to finely chop it.
Okay.
So we're not getting hot again, and we're going to go right in here with that. Spillage.
And the recipe is on our website, so of course, you may want to be making notes as well.
All right, right here we've got about 2 tablespoons of butter. Unsalted, salted, it doesn't matter. We're going to cook these onions, this mirepoix, in the butter, and just get a little sweat on it is technically the term for it.
A little
A
what?
sweat.
Oh, a sweat. Okay.
Now I have a bay leaf in here as well.
Right.
Bay leaf is pretty key in any kind of braids or soup or stock. One thing about the bay leaf is it's not really edible. So you need to remember how many bay leaves you put in so that you can always fish them back out.
Sure, sure.
All right, so a touch of salt.
With your spice mixture. And again,
Correct.
that has pepper in it as well. Is that correct?
Right, it's
Okay.
four different colors of peppercorn.
Right, right.
Now, at this point, we can measure out our chicken stock and our beer. Oh, and there's mushrooms here, too. I've got about 2 cups of cremini mushrooms. They can go right in there, too.
Okay.
So, about 2 cups of chicken broth. And this is just stuff you buy at the grocery store. It's Swanson's chicken broth.
Right here.
One thing I always recommend is to make your own broth. All right, so we added the mushrooms. We need to add a little salt. Anytime you add a new ingredient, I always add a little more salt. The recipe does not call for, it calls for salt and pepper, but there's no amount. And that's because salt and pepper is so subjective. So many people put salt on everything they eat, and then some people don't want any salt in their food. Okay, so we have the melted butter in here. There's not a lot left. It's kind of soaked into the vegetables. So we're going to add just a little bit of flour, about 2 tablespoons. This is a third, so we'll do about 5 heaping tablespoons, or little third tablespoons here.
And this you're making a roux. Is that the correct term?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. A roux is used to thicken whatever stock or sauce you're working with, and it adds some flavor and body to it.
And this would be like regular flour, not self-rising.
All-purpose, right?
Mm-hmm.
All-purpose flour, not self-rising. Self-rising will work if you're in a pinch and don't have AP. It'll work. All right, so a lot of people would think that their pan is ruined because of the brown on the bottom of the pan. That's not so. That is good stuff. You pour this liquid in there, and then you start scrubbing with your spatula.
Oh, good stuff.
Now at this point, we're going to add some Pawpaw's Porter from Newgrass Brewing Company. It's a medium-bodied porter. It's fairly light drinking for a porter. It's delicious. And I cook with it all the time, so I am happy to cook with it today as well. Only about a cup. As you can see, it's nice and dark. It's a dark beer. A lot of people think that makes it stronger. It's not the case at all. It is actually very light drinking for a porter.
And so the darkness comes from the ingredients.
Correct.
Which would be, a chocolatey, coffee?
The malt is what's going to make that as dark as it is.
Okay.
It's not very highly hopped either, so it's not it's not a real hoppy beer. It's one of the favorites over at the brewery.
Mm-hmm. Now, do we get this to be boiling?
Absolutely.
Okay. So really, what about the peas? When does this happen?
Well, you don't want them to overcook. So as this cooks and cooks down, you'll add the peas and the bison back in.
Oh, okay.
And let it all combine.
Okay.
And then add it back into your casserole dish.
Okay.
In fact, we could go ahead and combine this now.
And so we have corn and peas.
Correct.
So this is a one-dish meal.
It really can be. That's
gracious, yes.
Finished product will show that.
Uh-huh.
It can be just one dish. Cook everything in one pan.
So you'll be really getting some thickening then?
Exactly, that flour.
With the flour.
Correct.
Okay.
But like I said, you want this to reduce down, that liquid to reduce down by half.
Okay.
And it does take some time.
Okay.
At this point, you could add all this back in here, and you could use this as your serving dish.
Oh, okay.
It just, depends on what you want to serve it in.
Okay.
I'm going to make a little hole here to pour this into.
Okay. Oh, yes. Perfect, perfect. Now, did your mom use this too?
Well, when my mom all passed away, we all went to her house and kind of went through some of her things, and I started in the kitchen.
Oh,
and so I went to claiming, and I pretty much got my choice of what I wanted because I'm the kitchen guy.
Right.
So that's continuing to reduce.
Okay.
You could save that for later. You could save that as a gravy to go over the shepherd's pie if you like.
Certainly.
The beauty of shepherd's pie is that you could use leftover mashed potatoes from a dinner that you did a day or two before.
Correct.
And so that's kind of the premise of shepherd's pie. I think that's what they were thinking when they, the first person did it. And I'm not even sure who did shepherd's pie first. Now, a lot of folks will try to take a spatula and just paddle it on here. Well, as you can see, this is kind of liquid, and this is kind of solid. It doesn't work that well, so what I do is I take a scoop.
Oh, look at that.
And I just scoop it on.
That's like, what, an ice cream scoop?
Exactly.
Is that what that is?
That's correct.
Oh, gracious sakes.
And this is just a standard mashed potato. There's no garlic or sour cream or anything in it. I like to jazz up my mashed potatoes, but for this dish, you don't really need to. This is a very simple dish, and it's a peasant's dish.
Right.
Your knife cuts don't need to be perfect. Your herbs don't need to be chopped finely. It's just.
But it could be that there could be also, you could use your herbed, buttered mashed potatoes
Absolutely.
as well.
Absolutely.
Anything that, you find in your refrigerator would be good. But
That's correct.
That is a beautiful way to do that. Who knew?
Now, at this point, you could take a spatula and smear this and kind of flatten it.
Right.
But I kind of like the way it looks, at least this round.
Right.
You would use something like this and just kind of paddle all these things together to make a seal. What I do like to do is come around the edge and kind of make that crust come down to the edge of the casserole.
Sort of like a pie crust.
Exactly, because if you've made a pie before and gone to all that trouble to make that crust nice, only to see the filling come up around it and boil around the crust. So if you just do that, it kind of seals it off just a little bit.
Okay.
And I take egg wash, which is an egg and about an ounce or two of water, and then a pinch of salt. It's great for browning. You put it over the top of a crust or anything like that. I think for this one, because we do have so many gaps, I am just going to paddle it together.
Okay. And I'm sorry, the egg wash, again, is it a yolk or is it the whole egg?
It's the whole egg.
The whole egg, okay.
Beaten very well.
Okay.
And then added to about an ounce to 2 ounces of water.
Okay.
And a pinch of salt.
And an ounce of water would be what, a quarter of a teaspoon?
Half
a teaspoon?
3 tablespoons.
Oh, 3 tablespoons, okay.
All right, so we've got that done up, and we're going to take the egg wash and just brush it.
And again, this is to make it the crust brown.
Correct. All right, one very important thing is that before going into the oven with this, you need to put it on another pan. Otherwise, you're going to be cleaning up a mess in the oven.
Sure. And I have some salt here. Did you not mention salt?
Salt's already in it.
Oh, salt's in it. Well, there we go.
Yep, ready to go.
Okay.
So, here's our shepherd's pie ready to go into the oven in Mama's casserole dish.
And then we also have one in the oven. Is it about ready?
Through the magic of television, I believe it should be.
Okay. All right, and there we go. The finished product. It's beautiful, evenly browned and delicious looking. Well, Cleveland County, get busy. Go down to the farmers market starting in April and get bison meat. If this is appealing to you, plus we've learned a lot of cooking techniques, and we also know to go to Newgrass to get the shepherd's pie.
Absolutely. Most importantly, dine local and support your local farmer and farmers market.
Thank you.